Yeah, I'm not sure if this is gonna work or yeah. So sorry, for some reason I updated the let me know if this is working now in the chat. I updated Streamlabs, which is a program I use to do the live streaming. It's supposed to make it easier. Clearly it didn't today. So I had to quickly switch into using OBS Studios. So just to double check here for those of you that, hey, look, I can screen share still, so that's a huge plus. Well, let's start here anyways, because we're already here. So this is the Fear and Greed Index over the, well, almost all the data that they have. I think this is max data all the way back to 2018 in the far left-hand side of the chart. You can see this big move. Well, I guess it was very temporary as well. We didn't spend a lot of time in the greed area as we moved up to $13,000 for Bitcoin in the early 2019. But we had a lot of jagged movements. A lot of fear kept staying in the market even though we were going up. And that's important because it shows us that even though we're in this kind of early upcycle, this is how the bull trap effectively takes place. Is a lot of people are still very greedy early on. So if we look at the 1 year, here we see March 2022, and then this big fall down into May. And then even in the breakdown in November, when FTX floor fell out, I guess, or when Sam defrauded everybody would be the easy way to say it. We were only at around 9 to 10 points. We couldn't get much lower. We were actually much lower back here in June with the first drop. So this kind of first move out of fear in quite some time is usually one of the disbelief stages. And it's true that the bull market is not starting. So this is usually the moment early enough in the cycle where a lot of people will get caught as Bitcoin goes past 40 grand, 50, and then probably come back down to make a much larger trading range. So we've seen some of this stuff in the past. So here you should be able to see Bitcoin's price now. This is a long-term chart we've drawn up since around 2020, March. It shows two separate pieces of the accumulation phase. We've gone over this a few times before. Again, all these vertical lines are like regression lines, but more importantly, after the previous all-time high of Bitcoin here in 2017, we came down for a selling climax and performed this nice accumulation range before running up to $13,000. Now that was a big move. I suspect this is exactly where we are. We've seen analogs like this many times before. So because of that, the momentum I think that's going to take place here, actually, let's use a few other charts. Let's look at Magic for a second. What's important to note is that for some of these, Magic is one of them, Fetch is one of them. There's a few other in this particular area right now. What they've already done is they've already completed a multi-month accumulation range for Magic. That was from the 12th of May to the 19th of January. So that's 251 days of accumulation within this cycle. It's a fairly long time. It's a very long time in crypto, I guess. It's like 600 days in crypto. So the accumulation range itself then started to move outside of the box and has gone up significantly since then. Now this isn't all of the data for Magic, but what it does show us is we've completed a trading range and we've produced our first sign of strength outside of the trading range itself. These are very bullish signals. Now, often when we see the composite operator make a footprint in one area, they want to do it in all the other areas. So they're lining up to make a move in the markets and take profit and liquidity going into the next 6 to 9 months. They already have control of the market. It's usually how these positions are played. And what they do is they'll test that to see how well they control the market so that unknown players in the ecosystem aren't just dumping a bunch and then buying it up for no reason, drawing the price down even further while their buying spree would have continued. The goal of driving the market price up is to get retail on board so that they can buy it from them at a much higher price, because retail generally shows up with the hype and the growth cycle, and that is when the market makers are taking a lot of their profit. So this, I guess, expression, this kind of footprint that we look for in the Wyckoff methodology is largely because of its value as a trading signal. Now, the distributional tops for me have been much harder to find, but knowing that there's a bottom means that we're on our stepping stone way to a top. So the fact that we've gone out of the trading range means that at one point it's going to top out. Now the question is how high, how much higher could it go? Well, it could go back to previous all-time highs. The gaming sector is huge. I think Magic's previous fully diluted valuation was only a few $100 million. And the gaming ecosystem is $100 billion plus a year space. It's huge. I mean, a lot of great movies are now apparently made in wakes of video games. The video game comes before the movie now. It's not like a book that precedes the movie. It's video games. It's a very strange time we live in. So there's a lot of room for growth here. Now, in terms of where Bitcoin is, here's a great money. It makes a great money for this ecosystem, and it's been a long-term driver of the DeFi or decentralized financial conversation. Now, when you put video games into play, this is a supercharged moment. Bitcoin could, there's a big gap here down to around $12,000 for Bitcoin that we could revisit. That's not out of the cards. We could have something catastrophic come into play. But what drives me to believe something different is taking place is this, let's see, where do we have it drawn? Yeah, this trading range that we're moving through right now. So it does look like there's a gap here on the right-hand side of the volume profile. As you can see, I'll make it a little bit bigger here. Boom, and I've got a little hand pointing into the corner. So this gap over here, it's likely that we're going to fill this. So that would bring a move down to around 21,200, something like this. When you have these big gaps, especially what we're on the daily right now, moving through the trading range, again, the kind of general thesis here is that, look, we've moved through this downward trend line, and there's a few ways you could put this push this trend line across. We've moved through the downward trend line, and we've gone past both of these falling trends. Out of a very low volume spring, which is interesting too, like in general, this whole spring was quite elongated, and the move that we went up, we retraced the entirety of the trading range with very little effort from the supply range itself. So big spring here, low volume continuation spring, and then a move straight to the top of the box. So it's likely that we're going to see the backup here within 23 to 22,000. We'll do something like this, and then we'll move strongly above and beyond. But this is kind of on the back of a story for the US dollar. So we'll take a look at let's see, the DXY right now has had a pretty strong day. So here is the dollar chart. So the dollar's been falling pretty much since October of 2022 and been in a consistent downtrend. Now, a big part of the question will be, does the dollar lose its steam right here and just very similar to this previous jump up within the range, fall very shortly afterwards? So if we want to look at stuff like that, it's always good to add some type of indicator. Here's the daily RSI, 6-hour RSI and into the daily. So the daily, we're not oversold by any means. We are getting some strong wicks off of it here, but on the 6-hour, you can see we're in some fairly oversold territory. The previous time we have been, again, not up this high, but the previous time we were up this high was back in September and October to begin with. So we've been bouncing along the bottom, and we've just for the first time bounced to an oversold position on the RSI for the 6-hour. So I do suspect that this is going to be a failure as well, that we'll see some type of drawdown and maybe a finalization of a much, again, the vision of what this path that we're in right now, because we're in a very long rising uptrend. Now, this could break either way. We don't know what the future holds, but I suspect we come all the way back down to test this here. It just kind of makes a lot of sense. CPI is going to continue to drop. We know that we've got a 25 basis point increase to look forward to consistently. And if it continues to drop and it gets down to around 2%, they will just stop. They've kind of talked about this before. The necessity to inflate when everything is basically unfunctional. Oh, wait, what? Oh, sorry, the audio isn't working well again. Yeah, sorry about that. Left, right. Why is it? It should be forced audio. Let's see if I can fix that now. I'm not monitoring. Let's just go mono. There we go. That should solve the problem. Thank you, guys. Wasn't looking at the comments there, but that should go well. There we go. I think we fixed it now. Yeah, you would hear it fine on a phone. It would come out mono, but if you're listening on closed headphones, then you would have heard that in stereo. So we fixed it now. The technical difficulties of live streaming are pretty ridiculous. Maybe I'm just gonna have to record these in future endeavors and skip the live streams. We might have to pre-record these. It's gonna make it easier for me in the future, anyways. Okay, so we've been in a fairly long rising channel, and the last time we saw that, the breakdown was actually more substantial than the rise that we had up. So I don't know, who's to say that the US dollar couldn't break down even further than this and go below the trend line itself. But for now, on the 6-hour chart, it looks like we're probably oversold and we could come down lower. If we look at here in the weekly, I still don't think we've bottomed out on the RSI. Oh yeah, we did. We've almost bottomed out and turned around, but we haven't dropped below. So we could still see a drop below here for around the 30 point on the RSI. I don't see any reason for the dollar to get stronger, necessarily speaking, but again, this is a big game of follow the leader here too. So although let's look at the 4-hour really quickly. Yeah, not a ton of big wicks, but we are definitely oversold on the 4-hour. So keep an eye on here. It could fall very quickly, which would be very bullish for our market. But if we look again back at Bitcoin, there is this gap here, a pretty noticeable one here on the daily VPVR range. Yeah, here. And we're falling now on the daily for RSI too. So all of our oversold momentum has started to turn around, and we're dropping back down. So I suspect, yeah, a pretty clean drop to around 21,400, and then probably do a fill around here before we saw a close back above the trading range. Now this is where it could change very quickly. If we start to go back, can't get above 23, 25, and then we come all the way back down below 19, then we were wrong. But normally, when you have a big, long accumulation with a hard spring like this move up to test the top of the range becomes the sign of strength. So this would be the first test. I suspect something in 25,000 is if the dollar keeps going, or sorry, 21,000 if the dollar keeps going. If it doesn't and it just falls here in the next 24 to 48 hours as the markets reopen again, Bitcoin could just jump straight above the box into 25 grand and be on its way to 30 pretty quickly. So nothing has changed there, but again, there's been so much momentum in some of the other areas of this sector, like with Magic, or let's see, we've got Fetch up here as well. Let's take a look at Fetch. Fetch not only continued out of its trading range, but it continued to go much higher, much like much like Magic. So here we go. Here's for fetch.ai from the bottom here already up 700%. So you're up a clean 6 to 10x almost on some of these positions. That's it. These are serious moves. I do suspect some sort of retracement here as well. But again, nonetheless, just like we said in bull markets, they didn't really give any moment for the retracement to take place before it just continued higher. But every step we go higher, it gets less and less likely the continuation will happen. So, but these moves are happening outside of trading ranges, and then they're continuing beyond as well. So this is what leads me to believe that Bitcoin is actually just a little bit earlier on in the continuation process of this trading range, and that much like we see with Fetch, once that trading range has completed, you jump to the top of the box effectively, just like Bitcoin did here. Here would be the equivalent spring, top of the box, some type of backup phase, and then a huge move outwards. So Bitcoin could do something very similar here, where you have a little bit of a backup phase here to 21 grand, and then you move $30,000 to $40,000 outside of the box here for Bitcoin. So again, Magic did the same thing. You had a very strong move from the bottom of the spring, low volume spring, straight to the top of the box. Pretty big backup phase. Again, if Bitcoin were to do this, it would put it back in around 19 grand before moving into a strong SOS pattern outside of the box. So here, again, with Bitcoin, it would be, let's actually make this a little bit closer, a little bit easier to see, and we'll get rid of the RSI. Here's the low volume spring, jump to the top of the box, slight retracement down to 21,700, and then a move to around 30. So this kind of early analog, I think, is a nice context for what we will see eventually. It's just the market maker showing where they have ownership and strength within the ecosystem that they want to acquire, and then it goes from there. Okay, so I'm just going to keep it brief today. I wanted to look at Ape token as well. There's just a few I had drawn up here. Just in general, I'm bullish on the gaming ecosystem. When we make venture investments, we just sit and wait. We've got a 5 to 10 year time horizon on those focuses. So we try to ignore the volatility, although it's definitely hard to do some days. Here, Ape token, again, pretty low volume spring for Ape token. We know, again, a lot of it's already locked up. I think it's one of the reasons why they launched the staking. They could tell that the market maker was generally more in control of the asset as time went on, and they wanted another way to make sure that those tokens stayed locked up during that driving process. So they're offering great yields, convincing everyone to stay in the market and keep locking up whatever it is they give them, because effectively, as soon as you get what you want to take it and then lock it up, because then you get more. So it's got a great staking feedback mechanism. I do suspect that, just like we looked at with Magic and Fetch and even Aptos as well, once you moved outside of the trade of the bottom of the box of the trading range, you had this huge momentum upwards. Again, for Aptos, that was in the multiple 100% as well. But here, obviously Ape token is a big player. Yuga Labs has got some awesome first mover advantage and huge branding and IP potential. So with this long, again, drawn out accumulation process of approximately 250 days, 273 days, we're at the middle of the box right now, looking to fill some of these gaps. For Ape token, if that drop were to push us a little bit further back down to the bottom, we'd probably touch around $5.30, and then we'd be on our way to around $7.80, and then a quick move outside of the box, probably to around $10 to $16. So again, this is kind of pre-forecasting based off other well-held assets being moved by the market maker. And then here, Ape is just a little bit earlier on in its progression as compared with Matic or with Fetch is here as well. And then for, I guess for Magic to some degree, the sign of strength, I think would be something we could measure. The time from the spring to the sign of strength is approximately 42 days. For Fetch, from the time of the spring and the top of the first sign of strength was approximately 20 to 30 days before moving outside of the box. So for Ape here, we've seen kind of our first spring. We're only around, or I guess we haven't even seen this a real sign of strength here yet, but I suspect we will. Once we see that, we can probably measure another 40 days. So somewhere between 90 to 120 days, I suspect, of continued bullish patterns as the market maker just exercises their dominance and then continues to drive up the price for retail's interest and hype and FOMO to get garnered up again before dropping it down and reaccumulating again. Now, the gaming sector, it could go somewhere separate than what we've seen before. There's no reason to think that crypto is going to stay the same. It has never, ever stayed the same since I've been here. I've been here a little bit of time now. So in general, try to chart some of these up yourself. If you want help, you can join the private group. We've got a great group. Oh, and wow, you guys will probably know I was not here for about a week. I didn't do the live stream. We went to the Arcane Bear retreat. We did a retreat out here in Costa Rica. It was amazing. We're going to do it again. It turned out very, very well. I was a little hesitant because we haven't done an IRL event before, so I wasn't sure how it was going to work out. I was greatly surprised by how amazing everyone was, and just the kinship and what happens when you go deep with people. So you're doing hours of meditation, and Daniel, our CEO, helped host these awesome breathwork classes. We did yoga and ice baths, ecstatic dances. We saw one of my favorite guitar players, a world-renowned guitar player. And then, just as kind of a recap, because we're going to do this again, the beauty of this place, it's not captured here at all in the photos. It's actually one of the things we got a bunch of the feedback was like, hey, this actually looks way better in real life than it does just off the back of what you guys shared. So I think we'll make sure we do a better job next time of sharing just how absolutely wonderful this spot is as we go. We got so much good out of it, and myself, this something I'm constantly seeking in life is like the richness of what it is you as a group and a community are doing all the time, and we just had such a great time. So anyways, we'll be doing this again. We'll let everyone know. We're going to do interviews with everyone ahead of time too. So we'll have to interview everyone that comes. But it worked perfectly this time, pretty much. Perfect first IRL event. So we're really happy with that. And then, yeah, here I think it's just a game of patience. I think, again, the market is going to throw a bit more volatility in here for this week probably. Again, rechecking Bitcoin down to around 21.3, something like this, 21.5. It might not, again, from what I've seen in the last time. Like, actually, this would be a great time to look at Bitcoin's previous analog here. So this move outside of the trading range here in 2019, this first accumulation, and actually it's probably more like this. We're probably still in the box for Bitcoin. We're not really outside of the trading range, I don't think necessarily. It would be not a great argument. If you look at where we are today, we're probably closer to right here. So I suspect we'll get some longer drawn out time frames here, maybe another 20 to 30 days where Bitcoin really checks that spot. Let's see, we'll go back here. Let's see how many days this bottom portion was too. 40 to 65 days. And how many was it here at the bottom of 2016, 2017? Yeah, 132 days. So I don't suspect that we're actually at the top of this trading range yet. It's very likely that we're going to fill to around 21.5 here, like this. And then we'll probably spend around 20 to 30 more days in there. Boom, 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 boom. And then move to around 30. But yeah, we haven't really validated the top of this trading range for real strength yet. But we sure did move out of the bottom of it very quickly. So yeah, I suspect a gap fill then. But it probably won't last very long. I don't think we'd have too many days here. And so again, based off some other previous fully complete renditions of this, you're like 210 days at the bottom, like from selling climax to breakout, 253 days for magic. And let's see how many we're at with Bitcoin. 257. So we're right on the curve. It looks like where, again, what I think we're going to get is a move, a back up, and then a break out of the box for Bitcoin, very similar to what we've seen with some of these already very powerful asset movers. So yeah, just a little bit behind because it's slower, and they need to make sure it's in as dominant hands as possible before they run it up. Otherwise, they're just buying stuff without any real effect in the market, since it's no fun for anybody then. So there we go. That's my thoughts for now. So I was a little bit late today. I'll take a look at the live stream to make sure everything's going smoothly, because you know how that goes. Oh, you guys are asking about Gala? Yeah, sure. Let's go back here and take a look at Gala. I had it on the screen earlier. Again, my sentiment here is that we're going to see continuations in everything. Actually, so we were looking at a few different tokens the last videos. Alluvium has had a huge jump since then as well. So that one worked out great. But Gala here, again, we're right in a pretty deep. Got a bunch of tops and bottom pieces here. So look like a falling wedge accumulation channel. We had our spring here. I suspect we're going to get a move to the top of the box, which will put us approximately around 11 cents up here. Now, what we're doing is we're clearly back testing this area. Now, there is a gap here of around 0.423 cents. We could come dip down to if we take a closer look here at Gala Games. So these reaccumulation channels we've talked about before, somewhere between 20 to 40 days. We are approximately 29 days into this already. So we're kind of right around the time frame. Generally, I was hoping it was going to move a bit faster. All positions are in profit, but nonetheless, it's much nicer when, like Magic, it moves, or Aptos, it moves within days of this kind of position. So you can tell the market maker is meeting some resistance here, and you may even see a back test of around 43.43 cents here, just to shake out the last of the weekend market participants before we go upwards. So patience here, I think, will be the best payoff, but nonetheless, play within your range of confidence and your risk assessment of the situation. and then everything should be fine. But on the 4 hour, let's take a closer look. There were some things that we are still excited about. Obviously, we've got a really noticeable collapse in supply throughout the continuation of the trading range itself. So we've got falling supply here consistently throughout the trading range and a rising price. So speaks to the bullish nature. We're still above the point of control. Now let's take a little bit of a closer look here. Yeah, we're right at the point of control. So we basically are getting sucked in and building around the point of control here. With a few other ones, as soon as we built past this and above the point of control, we moved very quickly to the top of the box. That's what's happened with the other ones. So we're right in that range. But again, with Bitcoin maybe about to do a back test and the market maker hitting some resistance here, because it's again moving a little slower than I wanted, we could see a back test all the way to 4.2 cents, 4.3 cents. So just a quick thought there. We'll leave it at that. Probably not showing the screen again, I'm sure, because that's just how it works. And we'll see you guys again on the next episode. Thanks for joining us today. Peace.